Imagine discovering your spouse's infidelity. One person found the solution difficult. Choosing between his broken heart and his children shaped his 18 years. Betrayal, sacrifice, and redemption define this story. Stories show daily drama. Mike shook his palms as he read his phone text. His world fell apart. Text on the screen burned in his mind. I saw Sarah with another man. They kissed. I'm sorry, Mike. Mother sent it. Lacking breath. Mike, how could Sarah injure him? To their family, he heard the front door open and close. Sarah home. Mike stood from the couch with a racing heart. He confronted her. He needed honesty. Sarah entered the living room, Mike's look stealing her smile. What's wrong? She worriedly asked. While holding his phone, Mike whispered. True? Asking to control his emotions. Sarah paled with dread. You talking about? Mike observed that she stammered in regret. Sarah leapt at Mike's shout. His voice shattered years of trust and love throughout the house. My mom saw you. She saw you kissing another man. How could you hurt me? To our kids. The tears came to Sarah. She pleaded, shivering. Mike, I can explain. The hollow tone conveyed agony and disbelief. Explain. How did you break our wedding vows? How you wasted our lives. On the final phrase, his voice broke as his emotions threatened to overcome him. Sarah cried on the couch, shaking her shoulders. Her sobs masked her apology. I didn't intend it. Just done. Mike paced back and forth, feeling angry. His chamber was too small, and the walls closed in. Who's he? He demanded. Do I know him? Sarah shook her head, afraid to look at Mike. You don't know him. I met him at work. Do you adore him? Mike inquired, fearing the response but needing it. In the silence, Sarah paused. Mike's heart broke again. She confessed, I like him. But I don't love him, not like I adore you. Mike felt a gut punch. The room spun around him, so he grabbed a chair back for stability. He whispered, if you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. They debated for hours. The sun sank and rose again without their awareness. Sarah described her sentiments as lonely and unappreciated. She said Mike's lengthy work hours had made her feel neglected and made her question his devotion. Mike couldn't believe his ears. Their life was fantastic, he thought. Emma, 12, Jack, 15, and Lily, 17, were their gorgeous children. Both had excellent occupations and attractive homes and neighborhoods. How could Sarah waste it? Mike replied, hoarse. From talking all night, I worked those long hours for us. Give you and the kids anything you want. Why do you believe I didn't love you? Since tears had destroyed her makeup, Sarah wiped her eyes. Mike, I know you love me. But love goes beyond giving. Being truly present is key. When was the last time we talked without talking about kids or bills? Mike opened and closed his mouth to argue. He forgot. Mike decided as the sun rose, coloring the sky pink and gold. I'll consult a lawyer, he said, exhausted but resolute. My options must be known. Sarah's eyes widened in terror. New tears fell from her face. Will you divorce me? Small and afraid, she asked. Mike shakes his head and runs his fingers through his messy hair. No idea. I must safeguard myself and our kids. After sleeping poorly, Mike saw a lawyer the next day. The news was bad. Due to their long marriage and children, a divorce would be messy and expensive. The lawyer, Janet, a kind woman, said Mike might have to pay Sarah alimony and split all they had. Mike argued that she cheated, feeling a new flush of rage. Janet nodded compassionately. Mike, I understand. However, the law may not care as much as we assume. Your children will be the court's top priority. Mike returned to find Sarah on the couch, weeping and puffy-eyed. He watched her face crumple as he told her what the lawyer said. How can you hurt me? She wailed hysterically. You wreck my life. Mike couldn't believe his ears. He was at risk of drowning in rage and hurt from the unfairness of it all. I'm ruining your life, he shouted, losing his cool. You cheated. What about our kids? Did you consider their impact? Sarah wiped her eyes and slumped in defeat. I considered them, she whispered. This is why I want to solve it. Why not try to resolve it? For kids? Mike wanted to decline. Everything in him shouted to pack up and leave, never to return. He glimpsed a family photo on the mantel as he refused. On their previous vacation, all five smiled on a sunny beach. He lost his willpower when he saw his children's cheerful expressions. He imagined how unhappy and bewildered his kids would be without him. He imagined Lily, a high school senior, focusing on college applications while her family broke apart. He considered Jack, already dealing with adolescent pressures, handling his parents' divorce on top of everything else. Little Emma, naive and young, didn't comprehend why her papa wasn't home. Mike finally spoke after what felt like hours but was probably minutes. He offered, we may attempt counseling, his voice hesitant. I'm not promising. Sarah's face brightened up with hope, but Mike stopped her from speaking. "I'm not forgiving you," said forcefully. "It doesn't mean we're good. It means I'll pursue the child." Sarah and Mike consulted a marriage counselor for weeks. First, it was hard. They rehashed past issues. Mike felt betrayed and furious, while Sarah alternated between tears and defense. Slowly, things improved. Dr. Reynolds, a gentle counselor, taught them to speak without yelling. They recognized Sarah's affair's causes. Before Sarah's treachery, Dr. Reynolds demonstrated their marriage had troubles. Mike worked long hours and neglected Sarah. He was too focused on his family to notice them. Sarah, unwanted, sought attention elsewhere. It didn't justify Sarah's conduct, but it helped Mike understand. He had to face his role in their divorce. The situation improved briefly. Mike and Sarah finally talked and listened after years. Leave the kids with Mike's mom and go to dinner or the movies on date nights. Both worked hard to mend their marriage and reestablish trust and affection. Mike remembered Sarah's actions even when things improved. The betrayal and wound were too deep. He worried if she was with someone when she was late home from work. He almost grabbed her phone to see who texted. He didn't trust her anymore and wasn't sure he ever would. Mom keeps telling Mike to leave Sarah. She says she broke your heart in a weekly call. She'll try again. Mike, you deserve better. Mike wished to keep his family. He loved his kids and didn't want a broken house for them. His parents' divorce left him adrift. And alone. He felt bad about putting his kids through that. Mike's choice was hard. He lived with Sarah until Emma, their youngest, turned 18 and attended college. Leave he would. It wasn't ideal, but he wanted the best for his kids. He would house two parents as long as possible. Years passed slowly. Life with Mike and Sarah changed forever. Like two strangers sharing a house. Executing marriage responsibilities without affection. They took care of the kids and tried to make their house happy, but they lost love and trust. Mike involved himself in his kids' life to be a good dad. He never missed soccer or school plays. Besides helping with homework, he taught them to drive and was always available. Sarah tried being a good mother. She made bake sale cookies, chaperoned school dances, and made her home cozy. Her eyes revealed sadness and remorse. As attentive children, they sensed their parents' distress. Lily, the oldest, asked Mike why he and Mum stopped kissing. Mike paused before telling her adults love differently. Not sure she believed him. They came after what seemed like an age. Emma, their daughter, attended college. Mike was proud of his daughter, sad that this chapter was ending, and relieved as they transferred her into her dorm room. His promise was kept. Staying for his kids. He must now assess himself. Mike informed Sarah of his decision that night after dropping Emma off. Without children, the kitchen table, where they'd enjoyed family dinners for years, was strangely quiet. He said gently but forcefully, "I'm leaving. I've stayed for the kids for years but can't." Sarah cried, crumpled. "Please, Mike," she begged, "we can start over. With the kids gone, we can focus on ourselves. We can love again." Mike shook his head lamentably. "I'm sorry, Sarah. However, I doubt I can trust you again. Love can't exist without trust." Sarah sobbed and begged, but Mike already decided. The next day, he packed and left, though it was harder than he expected. He knew it was right. The news upset the youngsters. They couldn't understand why their parents were divorcing after all these years. Mike sat them down and explained. He told them he loved them and stayed all these years to be there for them. Despite his and their mother's separation, he vowed they will always be a family. Kids learned over time. They noticed their dad was cheerful. He relaxed and smiled more. Their bond strengthened as they spent more time with him. Mike was there for every crucial time. Emma's first art show, Jack's wedding, Lily's law school graduation. He was a rock in their life, always there. Mike discovered that being alone wasn't lonely. He had kids, friends, and work. He resumed hobbies he had abandoned. He returned to painting, finding solace in brushstrokes. He rediscovered his love of nature and adventure by joining a hiking group. First time in years, he was happy. Sarah struggled harder after divorce. Despite their bad relationship, she assumed Mike would stay forever. Too late, she realized how much she had wounded him and lost due to her error. She sought treatment to understand why she had risked everything for a brief affair. She slowly healed after a grueling process. Years passed. Mike's kids are grown and have families. He was a great grandfather, always smiling, hugging, and telling humorous stories. He was loved by his children for sacrificing his unpleasant marriage for them. He showed true strength and love. Jack, Mike's oldest kid, asked him if he regretted being with Sarah for so long. From Mike's porch, they watched Jack's kids play in the yard. Mike pondered and shook his head. "No," he answered, smiling slightly. "It was hard. Most difficult thing I've done. But I saw you kids daily. I got to witness all your milestones. That meant everything to me. Mike was pleased of his son, now a grown man with kids. He survived his worst time. Kept his pledge to his kids. His marriage ended, but he found happiness again. Mike understood life didn't always end happily like in movies. Sometimes people make irreparable blunders, but love can't always keep two people together. He realized that joy and love can exist even in the worst situations. Finding those moments with his children and grandchildren was enough for him. Mike was content as he hugged his son farewell and watched him go with his family. He discovered that true strength isn't painlessness. It's about getting up after being knocked down and doing the right thing when it's hard. He did that in the end. Mike closed his door on the setting sun and returned home. He chose a framed photo of his children and grandchildren smiling merrily. He may not have had the happily ever after he wanted, but he had a life full of love, respect, and the assurance that he had always done his best for those who mattered most. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe to hear more. Hit the notification bell to never miss our daily riveting real-life stories.